this is Chris from the Project Management Guide. This video is called What's a Project Plan and Why You Need One. In this video I'm going to talk about what the project plan is, what's in the plan, and I'm also going to talk about what the purpose of the plan is. And then in a moment I'm going to talk about why you need to have a plan and what actually happens if you don't have one. So what is the project plan then? A lot of people talk about the project plan, but in reality what they're really talking about is the project schedule or the project timeline. In reality, the project plan document is a much bigger document with a wider remit. So it covers what the project aims are, it covers why the project is needed in terms of the business context. It also talks about what will be delivered in the project and how it's going to be delivered as well. It also covers who's going to be doing what on the project in terms of the roles and responsibility. We also talk about how long the project's going to take. So we do talk about the project schedule here and the project timeline and any milestones in this part of the document too. We talk about how much the project is going to cost, and we also talk about what the main risks on the project are as well. The purpose of the project plan is to make sure that the customer and the project team are aligned. So this means that the project manager has to set expectations in the project plan document. So this means getting agreement with the customer and getting that aligned with what the project team are planning to deliver. So it's all about having clarity and making sure that everybody is in agreement about what's going to be delivered and who's doing what. It also opens up the communication channels within the project, and it makes sure that all of the risks are clear and everybody's aware of what the risks are and all the mitigation plans that are put in place before we start the project. So why do you need a project plan? There's always a great deal of pressure at this stage of the project when you're doing the project initiation and the project planning to just get going with the project. But I really urge you not to do that. The project plan really is the foundations of the project. It gives you all of the structure and it aligns all the thinking and it gets all the agreements in place before you actually start the project. And you need to have a plan that's agreed and signed off before you actually start the full project in its own right. So if you have a plan at the start, that means it's much easier to change things once you're actually into the project. And of course in the project you will need to change how you're doing things, the approach, new things come to light, etc. But if you haven't got a plan or the plans are always changing, then it's very difficult to implement that change mid-flight. And also one of the fundamental things is if you don't have anything written down or agreed at the start of the project, then people, unfortunately, they just forget what the project was meant to be delivered. So 6 months, 8, 9 months into the project, people just forget what the project was all about. And if there's nothing written down, nothing was agreed as part of the project planning process and in the project plan document, then it's really hard to sort of reverse that situation. So what happens then if you don't have a plan, or at least you don't have a plan that's documented and agreed? Well, things might go really well actually for the first few months, but gradually you'll find that things don't settle down. Now projects always, when they're just starting up, the first few months you're going to get a lot of settling in. It takes teams and users and business people, it takes a bit of time to work out how they're going to work together. This is all perfectly natural in a project, in a new project when it's just starting to get into the implementation phase. So that period always takes a little bit of time to settle down. But if you haven't got a plan, then what you'll find is that the settling down period, you never really get over that period. Change seems to continue all the way through, so that never settles down either. And in effect, really what you've got is quite a lot of chaos because you're sort of trying to manage all of the different aspects here. And so you're going to end up with lots of disagreements and disharmony in the project. And basically it's a lot more stressful than it really needs to be on the project. So that's what happens if you don't really get your plan agreed. Everything, it just gradually tends to go wrong and it just becomes really chaotic and really hard to manage the project. So to summarise then, the project plan is all about getting an outline of what the project's going to deliver, and it's all about making sure there's clarity and an agreement and alignment between the different parties involved in the project. And it's also about opening up all the communication channels. And I really urge you to resist the temptation to start the project without a plan. The project plan is the foundations of the project, and getting a written down plan means that people don't forget what was agreed, and it's much easier to manage change going forward in the project. And ultimately, creating and getting a plan written down and agreed is much less stressful. You'll find your projects will flow and run much more easily if you've got a written down plan. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Please subscribe by clicking on the button below. You can find more information at the Project Management Guide, and also please add comments. I'd love to hear about how your projects are going and any problems you've had when you haven't had a plan written down. The next video is all about how to start a project faster by slowing down.